If you've seen headlines, social media posts, or videos claiming that a brand new federal law now requires every driver over age 70 to take an annual driving test, you're not alone. Millions of older Americans have seen these claims, and many have been left wondering whether they could suddenly lose their license, face new testing requirements, or be forced back into a DMV office every year. The good news is simple. That claim is false. There is no new federal law requiring annual driving tests for all seniors over 70. No nationwide rule has been passed that forces older drivers across America to take yearly road tests simply because of their age. But before you dismiss the entire issue, there is something important you need to know. While the viral claim is not true, real changes are happening in several states. Some states have updated their rules for older drivers. Others have changed testing requirements. And there are also medical reporting laws, identification deadlines, and insurance opportunities that many seniors are completely unaware of. That's why this information matters. Your driver's license affects your independence. It affects your ability to get to appointments, visit family, shop for groceries, and maintain control over your daily life. Understanding what is actually changing and what is not can help you avoid unnecessary worry while making sure you're prepared for any rules that apply where you live. Let's start with the biggest misunderstanding. Many people assume that if something involves driver's licenses, there must be a federal standard that applies everywhere. But that's not how driver licensing works in the United States. Driver licensing is primarily controlled by individual states. That means your state decides how licenses are issued, renewed, suspended, and reviewed. One state may have very different requirements from another. A rule that applies in one part of the country may not apply at all somewhere else. This is why the viral rumor falls apart so quickly. If a social media post claims that every senior in America must now take the same annual driving test, the first question should be simple. Which state? Because there is no single national senior driving policy that automatically applies to everyone. And this is where many seniors find some welcome relief. Several states have actually moved in the opposite direction of what the rumors suggest. Instead of adding new burdens, some states have reduced testing requirements for older drivers. For example, certain states have recently adjusted age thresholds for mandatory evaluations. Others have eliminated specific testing requirements that were previously imposed on older adults. That means many seniors are facing fewer obstacles, not more. This is important because fear often spreads faster than facts. A person hears that seniors are being forced into annual road tests. They tell a friend. That friend tells another family member. Before long, people assume the change is already happening everywhere. But the reality is much more specific. Some states require more frequent license renewals for older adults. Some require vision screenings at certain ages. Others may require in-person renewals after a certain birthday. And some have very limited additional requirements at all. The key point is that your state matters far more than a viral headline. This is where many seniors make a costly mistake. They spend hours worrying about national rumors while never checking the actual rules that apply where they live. The better approach is simple. Take a few minutes to verify your state's current requirements. Most people don't realize how quickly misinformation spreads online. A post can receive thousands of shares even when the information is outdated, incomplete, or entirely incorrect. That's why relying on verified information is so important. When it comes to senior driving regulations, one of the most useful approaches is reviewing reputable sources that track state-by-state requirements. This allows you to see exactly what applies to your situation, rather than guessing. And that leads to another issue that receives far less attention, but can have a much greater impact on a driver's future. Medical reporting laws. Many seniors have never heard of them. Others have heard fragments of information, but don't fully understand how they work. This is where things become more personal. While there is no federal annual testing law for seniors, some states have rules involving certain medical conditions and driving safety. In specific situations, healthcare professionals may be required to report medical conditions that could affect a person's ability to drive safely. Now, this does not mean that every doctor is reporting every senior driver. Far from it. And it does not mean that simply reaching a certain age automatically triggers a report. Age alone is generally not the issue. The concern is whether a medical condition could significantly affect safe vehicle operation. Conditions involving severe cognitive decline, certain neurological disorders, episodes of loss of consciousness, or other serious impairments may trigger reporting requirements in some states. Many people are surprised to learn this. They focus entirely on age-based rumors while overlooking regulations connected to health conditions. And this distinction matters. A healthy 75-year-old driver may face no unusual issues at all. Meanwhile, a younger driver with a serious medical condition could potentially face license review procedures. The focus is often on driving ability, not simply age. This is why maintaining open communication with healthcare providers is so important. If you have concerns about medications, vision changes, reaction time, balance issues, or memory problems, discussing them early can help you understand your options before they become larger concerns. Many seniors appreciate knowing that a license review is not automatically the same thing as losing driving privileges. This is another area where rumors create unnecessary fear. A review process often exists to evaluate individual circumstances. In some cases, additional medical information may be requested. In others, a vision examination may be required. Sometimes restrictions can be added rather than removing driving privileges entirely. For example, a driver might be permitted to drive only during daylight hours or within a limited distance from home. The outcome depends on the facts of the individual situation, and that brings us to something many families don't realize. There are also situations where concerned family members may initiate discussions about driving safety. This can be one of the most difficult topics families face. No one wants to take away a loved one's independence. At the same time, genuine safety concerns cannot be ignored. Many states have procedures that allow concerns to be reviewed through established channels. The purpose is not punishment. The purpose is safety. These processes exist because every situation is different. Some older drivers remain excellent drivers well into their 80s and beyond. Others may experience changes that make driving more challenging. The goal is to evaluate actual driving ability rather than making assumptions based solely on age. This balanced approach is often overlooked in public discussions. Most people hear only the extreme claims. Either they hear that all seniors are unsafe drivers, which is untrue, or they hear that no reviews should ever occur, which ignores legitimate safety concerns. The reality sits somewhere in the middle. Responsible policies attempt to protect both individual independence and public safety. Now let's discuss another issue that affects a much larger group of people. The Real ID requirement. Many seniors have heard the term, but are not entirely sure what it means. Others assume it doesn't apply to them. That assumption could create problems later. A Real ID is a federally compliant form of identification that may be needed for certain activities, including domestic air travel and access to specific federal facilities. What makes this important is that many people still have older licenses that may not meet Real ID standards. If you rarely fly, you might think this doesn't matter. But circumstances change. A family emergency could require unexpected travel. A medical situation could arise. You may decide to visit relatives or attend an important event. The last thing you want is to discover an identification issue when you're already dealing with other stresses. Many seniors postpone checking their identification status because it seems like something that can wait. But this is exactly the type of task that becomes more difficult when left until the last minute. Gathering required documents, scheduling appointments, and completing verification steps is often easier when handled well in advance. This is one of those practical housekeeping items that doesn't receive much attention until it suddenly becomes urgent. And speaking of practical matters, there is another opportunity that many older drivers overlook entirely. Defensive driving courses. Most people assume these courses are only for new drivers or individuals who have received traffic citations. That is not necessarily true. In many areas, mature driver safety courses can provide benefits that extend beyond driving skills. One of the most attractive benefits is the possibility of insurance discounts. Many seniors never ask their insurance company whether discounts are available. As a result, they may be paying more than necessary year after year. Even a modest reduction in insurance premiums can add up significantly over time. Imagine saving a small amount each month. Over the course of a year, that could mean meaningful savings. Over several years, the difference becomes even larger. And unlike many financial strategies that involve risk, asking about a defensive driving discount costs very little time. This is why it deserves attention. You may already be a safe driver. You may have decades of experience behind the wheel. But completing an approved course could still provide financial benefits depending on your insurer and state regulations. Another advantage is that these courses often cover modern driving challenges that didn't exist decades ago. Vehicle technology has changed. Road designs have changed. Traffic patterns have changed. Even experienced drivers can benefit from updated information. This is not about questioning your skills. It's about staying informed. And staying informed often protects both your safety and your wallet. There is another reason this matters. Insurance costs have been increasing for many households. Many retirees live on fixed incomes. When expenses rise, every opportunity to reduce costs becomes more valuable. Most people spend considerable time searching for ways to lower utility bills, grocery expenses, or prescription costs. Yet many never investigate potential insurance savings. That's a missed opportunity. And opportunities like these often get buried beneath attention-grabbing rumors. People spend days worrying about fake laws while overlooking legitimate ways to save money. That's why separating fact from fiction is so important. When you hear claims about new DMV rules, always ask a few basic questions. Who announced the change? Does it apply nationally or only in certain states? Can the information be verified through official sources? Is the claim based on current regulations or outdated information? These simple questions can prevent a great deal of confusion. Unfortunately, misinformation often targets topics that matter deeply to seniors. Driving is one of those topics. People worry about losing independence. They worry about transportation. They worry about maintaining control over daily life. Because these concerns are so personal, misleading information spreads quickly. That's why understanding the facts gives you an advantage. You can make decisions based on reality rather than fear. You can focus on actual requirements rather than imaginary ones. And you can prepare for genuine changes that may affect your situation. Let's quickly review the most important points. First, there is no new federal law requiring annual driving tests for every American over age 70. That claim is false. Driver licensing rules are largely determined at the state level. Second, some states have updated policies affecting older drivers, but those changes vary significantly from one state to another. This is why checking your own state's requirements is so important. Third, medical reporting laws exist in certain situations and may involve specific health conditions that affect driving ability. These rules are generally tied to safety concerns and medical circumstances rather than age alone. Fourth, license reviews do not automatically mean license loss. Many situations involve evaluations, restrictions, or additional information rather than immediate suspension. Fifth, Real ID compliance remains an important issue for many Americans, especially those who may need to travel or access certain federal facilities. And finally, defensive driving courses may offer benefits that many seniors overlook, including possible insurance discounts and updated driving knowledge. The biggest lesson is simple. Don't let rumors make decisions for you. Verify information. Understand your state's actual rules. Stay informed about any health-related requirements that may apply to your situation. Review your identification documents before they become urgently needed. And explore potential insurance savings that could help protect your retirement budget. When you focus on verified information instead of viral claims, you put yourself in a much stronger position. You reduce uncertainty. You avoid unnecessary stress, and you gain the confidence that comes from knowing exactly what applies to you and your family. Thank you for spending a few minutes getting the facts. Staying informed today can help you avoid confusion, missed opportunities, and unnecessary problems tomorrow. Subscribe and share this with someone who may need this information.